Hello, guys and girls, and welcome to episode 53 of the FReality Podcast. This is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show that is live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. You can tune into the show live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in Central US. You can also check out the audio version, which is available on Google Play Music, iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Anchor. Apologies for last week's audio version of the show not being online. I logged into SoundCloud this morning, saw that there was... I was like, what the heck's going on? Turns out that I hadn't clicked the button to publish it to the RSS feed, so apologies if you were expecting an audio version last week, but you didn't get it. I'm a noob, I know, but it won't happen again, so apologies for that. If you've got any questions, comments, or feedback during the show, please put them in the chat. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can. And if you want to ask us a question to be maybe played live on another show, then maybe you can leave us a voicemail through the Anchor app, which is available through your smart device. So let me introduce you to the team. First up, he's a collector of headsets and now a world record breaker. It is, of course, Nathie. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, yes. Especially after this record, I'm doing even more fine than before, man.
Yeah. You're on another level now.
I'm on a new level, a fresh level that I have never discovered before.
So for people that don't have a clue what we're talking about, Nathie was featured in the Guinness Book of Records, the Gamer's Edition, in the brand new VR section. So he opened the VR section of the Guinness Book of Records. So it's a huge achievement, and we're going to be talking more about it later on, right?
Yeah. True.
Very exciting to talk about that. But congratulations again. Well done from us all.
Thank you.
And in the chat, let's give Nathie a little clap.
Two claps.
Two claps. Next up, although he's not breaking records, he does like to break everything else. And that is our resident rowdy guy.
I already knew I had to switch to me, so I already did it already. Yeah, I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing all right. I actually just came back from IKEA, bought some more stuff to cram up in this place. Not in this room yet, it still looks very empty. Again, a lot of stuff on the floor. You won't see that, not wearing pants. So we'll save that for later. Yeah.
And did you buy like bags and bags of meatballs to bring home?
Yeah, of course. Meatballs, Swiss chocolate, those Swedish crisp things that they have in there, which I don't even know what they're made of. Bought all of that stuff, yeah.
I always go into IKEA with the focus of buying something in particular, and then just come out with bags full of stuff that I never knew that I needed until I went in there. I love that place. It's like another dimension. You lose track of time, in that place. But next up, in Firewall, he will only allow you to refer to him as Zulu India Mike. It is, of course, Zimtok 5. How you doing, man?
I like that, Mike. I like that. I'm good. It's been a good week, rough week, but a good week. And I'm looking forward to today's matchup between me and Rowdy in the ring. I'm already prepping my gloves.
Ring?
Keep it up, Rowdy, because I'm coming for you.
Ooh. Yes. We've got some conflicting opinions on Firewall, so stay tuned for that one.
Well, I don't know if we're that conflicting, but we'll talk about it. We'll
see. We can duke it out, and the chat can commentate on it. So I'm Mike, the host of the show from Virtual Reality Oasis. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about breaking world records in VR. Nathie talks about how he ended up in the Guinness Book of Records and how his journey into the metaverse began. We're going to be talking about VR games being platform exclusive. Is exclusivity in VR holding the industry back, or is it pushing it forward? We'll be having an open conversation on the matter, and you can decide for yourself. And then finally, we're going to be talking about Nostos, a beautiful new open world game, an online RPG coming to VR soon. So it's going to be an interesting show for sure. But let's start up and find out what everyone's been playing in VR this weekend. We'll sort of talk about their highlight of the week. And let's kick it over to Nathie first.
Yeah, so honestly, I'm not playing that much at this moment. I'm busy with other stuff, but if I could name one, then it would be Compound. It was a while ago I played it. I think it's been a year ago I played it, and back then it was just a simple demo, and now it's an early access, so it has more maps, more weapons. It's a shooter. It's like a retro arcade shooter. And it reminds me a bit of Doom, and also a little bit of like maybe a little bit of Duke Nukem, stuff like that. So going back into the past, you know, with pixelated like graphics in a way, and I don't know, it's so smooth, it just works, and just made by one guy, by the way.
It's been out for a while, no? Because I played this
well, yeah,
one
the demo was,
time
because
ago.
it was a free demo, and funny enough, this new game also has a demo. So if you are like, hey, that sounds cool to me, go to Steam, Compound, free demo, give it a try, and if you like it, you can support the developer. He's saying that he's planning to add like more, well, maps, of course, but maybe even, I'm not sure if I'm like correct here. Maybe that's just on my bucket list, but a co-op, I mean, that would be great to like team up with friends and kind of fight those enemies together. So yeah, it's great. It's great. It's definitely a must try.
And is it it's a roguelike, right?
Yeah.
So basically, if you're not familiar with roguelikes, you progress, you collect items, you work your way through, but as soon as you die, you're completely reset and you start from the beginning again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's really punishing you like all the time. So let's say you make it through like 3 levels that take about maybe 15 minutes, and then you like screw up, you got to start over again. So yeah, you got to be very careful. It's a game that teaches you straight from the start, like, listen, you can just go into this like shooter as a madman, but that's not the way you're gonna win. So it really invites you to also make use out of your room scale. So let's say if you have a big room, then you will appreciate the fact you can actually stand behind a wall and then shoot around it, for example.
Yeah.
And that's what I really like, games that make use out of your space. Like most games nowadays, they're just standing experiences because they allow you to just walk around with the thumbstick or the touchpad. There's no reason for you anymore to, you know, really walk around, like actually physically walk around in your space.
Does it have chickens?
Chickens? No, it's not like Counter-Strike.
chickens.
Is it anything like the way you described it? In my head, I've got Quill 4D, which is
yes. No, you're right. You're right. Like it's the same vibe. Yeah.
But no chickens.
But no chickens. No. And also no talking elephants and things like
no carrot on a stick locomotion. None of that.
Not interested
none
anymore.
of that stuff. No. Okay.
No
not the kind of game
for
that
me.
Zim's interested in.
Sorry. Yeah.
So just one thing I did notice, because I watched some of your gameplay, and that was that a bit like Blasters of the Universe, you actually see the bullets move, and you have enough time to dodge them. Is that right?
Yeah.
Which is
So
cool.
you feel kind of like Neo from the Matrix. There's no slow-mo yet. I think it would be nice if they add like a slow-mo so you can really do that too. But yeah, you can, like, even in the description on Steam, it says like you need to kind of like dance your way out. Because if you move a lot with your body, you're able to handle like 3 enemies at the same time while they are shooting at you. You're just moving all the way around. So yeah, it's fun. Free demo, so why not, right?
Yeah, go and check it out. Okay, let's find out what Zim has been playing then. I think I already know, but I'm intrigued to hear.
I've been playing Firewall.
Dang it!
What a surprise!
I only got one. I've been sick this week, so I've only gotten. This is the first week I can remember where I've only played one VR game. So I had one 3-hour session of Firewall, but with all the trauma that I had with a sound card issue dropping me out, all kinds of stream issues. This is normal for me. I still had a blast of a time. Like initially, I hated the game. Initially, my initial impressions right out the box. If I bought this, half an hour in, I'd be saying, "Feck this! I'm returning this." Right? That's what I started off with. Because when you first get introduced to Firewall, I just think that it feels very, it's just very off-putting the way that you interface with your characters, the menu system, the fact that you have to wait to load more time than you're playing. So if anyone ever was used to like old first-person shooters like Quake or Unreal Tournament, and you're like in all the time, respawn, all that kind of thing, and then you go and play Counter-Strike and you're sat out for 5 minutes watching people play, and you're like, for feck's sake, I'm like not even playing, you know? That transition can be a little bit kind of choking, like feels like, you know, a little bit claustrophobic, like someone's clipped my wings. But this one, once you get into it, I mean, I made like 6 to 8, you know, PSN friends through it with just chill dudes across the planet, who I didn't run into any ladies. Maybe that's just the nature of PS4 owners or something, but you know, and maybe VR coupled with that, and maybe the fact that it's a shooter, and maybe a number of other things. But I did not, you know, a week and a half in, I thought I was going to get totally creamed, but actually it was like all new people who I found in there. And although the game was quite unstable, I think I had like forced disconnects from probably 5 of 20 matches, let's say, in that time. So about 25% of the matches forced disconnect. And the fact that the lobby, like staying with the people and playing with the people who you were matched off against, was something that I think was maybe could be done better. Like, I think they should allow you to just keep playing with the same set of opposition and your 4 teammates, and just keep doing that. And also, when you break out to lobby, you're restricted to speaking to your teammates during the match. I can totally understand why that's the case, that you can't hear the opposition and you can only mic with people near you, and you have to actually be physically close to the people to hear them. And it doesn't drop off terribly, so it's not really annoying or anything like some other positional audio. But I found that any game that can help me kind of, you know, connect with other human beings across the planet, and you actually feel it within minutes, because of the dropouts, it felt like a dating simulation, like a speed dating night, because it's like, oh, quick, make friends, and then you disconnect again. Yeah. But like, I even ran into somebody who I'd made friends with through the matchmaking system later in the night, and he was killing like half my team, and got him. And then we ended up like texting back and forth, you know, across the platform. So like, I gotta say, the game really has clout. If you paid, and I'm gonna make a funny point here, and then I'll shut up. If you paid the 50, 60 quid or whatever it is, it's an expensive game. For this, I think, as I said, your initial reaction is going to be not good. And if you live past the first hour in multiplayer, I didn't try the single player like you guys, I think that you'll find yourself justified for that ticket price. And so I'm actually glad it's a high price, because you had to, you know, pay that much to get in. But once you're in, you kind of want to justify for yourself having paid that price. And I actually think those people are going to, especially the ones who pick up the bundle is well priced. To get the aim controller and the game for like 60 quid, that's nice. So I tune out. I'm a fan of the game. I think it's really going to do well.
So you're saying that the Bravo game is now out of the game.
I never played. Sure. I never played. What was it called? Something Bravo?
Bravo Team. I don't think that was ever really in the game. I don't think it did particularly well.
But it felt like Rainbow Six.
It was nice.
So what are your thoughts on Firewall then, Rowdy?
I don't like it. I don't like it. I mean, like Zim said, and I understand that, you know, maybe you need to give it some time, but if a game can't grip me from the first moment that I started up, it doesn't have a shot with me. Like, it needs to, the first impression is always so important. That is with people, that is with games, it is with books, it is with movies. If it can't grip me by the first, like, couple of minutes even, then I'm not into it. And like Zim said, like I didn't even try the multiplayer. I only booted up the single player, which, by the way, is, as far as I can tell, is the same thing, because it's just with bots that are very dumb. There's the AI in there is really not that intelligent that, you know, it's even, I wouldn't even call it a single player. I don't think that anyone should buy this game to play it single player.
No, I don't think anyone will. I think that's really just a training mode.
If you really want to play it online, then you would play it. I don't like it, but yeah, these are things with the PlayStation that you just have sometimes. Like the tracking is like all over the place. Even though I have like my setup, I try to optimize it. I saw Zim had also some problems with that. I think I'm just used to like a little bit of the precision that you have in like games like Pavlov or like Onward on the HTC Vive, that it's very hard for me now to switch back to like an aim controller. Although I like the thing, I mean, I love the thing with Farpoint, where, you know, it's a single player game with a good storyline. You only have to face forward. I didn't get that feeling with this Firewall game, not at all.
Is it because it's slower paced? You know, I know you mentioned Pavlov, and I know you've enjoyed those games before. Is it because Firewall is a bit slower, like it is more tactical, and, you know, communication is more key? And I know you don't particularly like people, which is an issue.
I like it how kindly you say it. I know you don't particularly like, but no, I fucking hate it. I really don't like it. I really don't like it when it's I'm being forced to be talking into a game. I don't mind if I'm playing with friends, but if I'm meeting strangers and all of that, it's just too much effort. And especially the thing that I don't understand is, why can't you stick with your team? If you got people that you like, why does it need to switch around?
Well, the disconnects were the main problem. So you can actually stick with your team of 4. It won't pull you out of that. But the issue for me was the disconnects. So I had 3 rounds with the same team of 4. But what I meant was it's always waits to match you off against another set of 4 people. So it's injecting that kind of load waiting time. So you end up having, if I was to say kind of an average, right? You've got 2 minutes of waiting for the game to collect 8 people. Then you've got 2 teams of 4 and they're matching off. Then you're loading the level for 30 seconds. Then you're playing for 3-4 minutes, sometimes longer, but I'd say on average 3-4 minutes. And then you kind of do the whole thing again. But the thing there's another system in the game that for anyone who really liked Battlefield's achievement system where you're unlocking different guns and things, I feel like it's a really balanced system for the unlocks. The first thing you can get is this just pump action shotgun that can take people out in one shot, but you have to use it. Obviously, maps change and you have to use it in specific situations. But one shot killing somebody in that way, just tactically, and also the fact that you can stand behind a door and literally just blind fire around a corner, that's awesome. But even better, you can unlock with, again, in-game currency that you earn as you play, skins and things for your guns. And the gun models are great, and they're really nice looking. So you kind of get this feeling of I'm actually doing something. I'm not just, turning the hamster around the wheel. I'm actually kind of progressing and unlocking guns and unlocking those features and different characters that you can play with different stories and backgrounds. I like to play this woman who's she's Iranian, had her face burned with boiling water. She's got a really kind of neat Middle Eastern look to her. And then her benefit or skill is she can detect enemies on this little a little tablet that's strapped to your wrist, kind of a funny way, that'll kind of detect if someone's come around a corner or whatever. So that's handy. But all the different characters have these different buffs. And so as a team, you're picking different people, and it actually just works out. I find that the way it gels together is really nice. I love the fact that there aren't that many VR games right now that help you bond. And this one right now is doing that. And I work really well on PlayStation.
No, I mean, I understand those kind of things, but there are just some things that really tick me off. If you die, then it's what do you do then? You just wait up until your team is done, or
you take a role of guiding your team through controlling the CCTV cameras. Am I right, Tim?
Yeah, that's right. So you actually sit back and you watch. So again, this is another thing that if you played with bots, I can totally get where that would be infuriating. You're sitting back watching, it just would be that way. But when you're with the team and you've been talking to people, on average, we'd have 3 talkers and 1 person who just wasn't talking because they decided not to, or muted themselves. But you have fixed point, as Mike said, CCTV cameras, so you can sometimes see where an enemy's coming. So you'd be shouting down the mic Mike, he's on your right. He's on your right. Then you see Mike kind of flailing about, but you don't always get a perfect view, and you can't always see. It's not like free fly. You don't get a free fly through the map and stuff. So it's quite fair and keeps you engaged even when you're dead, which is what I like.
I only played it very briefly just to test that it was working with the aim controller and everything else. But I do really want to spend some more time on this game because I do think a lot of people are really excited about this one. And I do like the fact that it's really slow and tactical. I prefer that over the fast paced of Pavlov, for example.
It's still pretty quick though. It's more Counter-Strike than Rainbow Six. It's still pretty quick matches. It's still pretty quick. You won't get. I don't think you'll get bored of it. It's not that tactical. But the biggest issue that I have, just to get on Rowdy's side of the fence for a moment, I mean, giving him enough digs, is the drift. Now I've got in my current setup in my living room. The camera's quite close, and for anyone who has a PSVR camera, you got to put it back. You got to put it proper back or high or something. But when this game is so reliant on iron sights, getting that lined up reticle, and then your gun is like this, and then the controller just goes and starts going off this direction. that drift, I remember from the DK2 days, put my head through. That's the number one thing right now, aside from the waiting times.
I didn't really encounter that. For me, it was more like that my gun model and the way that I was holding my aim controller did not perfectly align, even after like recentering it every time. I had that kind of stuff. Like every time I pulled it up, like it was saying my gun was pointing there, but I was actually holding my controller like that. And if you then like want to aim like really quickly at something, it just like, you know, it just pulls you out. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, I think it's the kind of game that you either like to play or you hate it. And I think it's one of those two things, because I don't.
And you're the latter.
I think I'm the. But I mean, I still want to play with you guys, of course. I think it's still fun if you play with friends, and it's not that I mean, I'm not gonna say it's not a fun game. I mean, of course it's a fun game. It's probably also like a very polished game, and especially after a couple of months when they work the kinks out, I think it's gonna be a really really cool title. But for a certain group of people that really like to enjoy these kind of games, I'm just not one of those kind of people. I like more like something with like a storyline or like something.
This is fair enough. This is going to dovetail really well into a point later, Mike, which is about VR exclusivity. Because my immediate thought on this one, saying what Brady said, is I'd love to play this on PC. I'd love to play this with the touch controllers.
Me too.
Well, that's with every PlayStation VR game, because they are so good that. But that's why PlayStation VR is so successful, because it just works on that platform. And again, like as you said, this is a game where people can work together, and it makes sense. That's something that is so rare. A game where you work together, you know, in a proper way. I don't think like you should compare this to Rainbow Six Siege, because that's a whole different ball game than this one. This is maybe an arcade version of Rainbow Six, but it's nothing close to Rainbow Six.
I'm talking original Rainbow Six.
Of course.
What's Rainbow Six Siege? I've
Old
not played
school.
that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even old school, it's compared to this. But I do like the fact that people try to make it bigger with like original titles. But I think that you should not think like, if you like Rainbow Six, of course, it's a certain genre. And then when you then jump into Firewall, it's going to be fun. But it's something different than Rainbow Six. Beware.
Cool. So let's find out what Rowdy has been playing this week. Then what else have you been playing, dude?
Yeah, I actually played only a little bit of Firewall because it kind of dropped me out like immediately after that. But I've been getting back into Torn, trying to like explore some more of that abandoned mansion, and I'm actually really enjoying that title. I know that a lot of people were also not enjoying that one, so there's flavors for everyone. But no, I'm actually really enjoying the story of that. The controls can be a bit finicky sometimes, and not everything always works properly. I have the impression, especially with like the pressure plates. I don't know if anyone got to that. Oh, you probably did, Mike. Yeah, like the pressure plates for me, sometimes it just didn't work as they intended to do. But overall, I'm enjoying the story, how it's folding out, and I haven't gotten to the end yet. I don't really know how many rooms I still need to do, but I'm really enjoying that title. Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one as well, for sure. Okay, so let's talk about what I played this week. I've been playing Thumper on the Oculus Go. I mentioned it in last week's show, and I was really excited about it because we haven't really had an Oculus Go title, or a big one anyway, to get excited about. And it's a shame because I really love using the Oculus Go headset. I think it's a great little device. If you're not familiar with Thumper, it's like a music rhythm game, almost like a horror music rhythm game. They released it like around 2 years ago. They've also did a port of it for Rift, Vive, and PSVR. But basically, you control this little chrome beetle that's like hurtling down a track, and you basically have to move it in time with the music and sort of smash into the side of the walls and slide. And they call it a rhythm violence game, and it is kind of like that because everything's very visible, everything's very violent. It's a great game, like, full stop. But the only thing I was concerned about is that how the port sort of worked with the Go in terms of the Go controller, because a game where you need to rely on precise movement and quick movements as well, because especially when the levels ramp up in difficulty, the music gets very fast and it gets very challenging. So I was really concerned about how that works with the Go controller, but they actually did a pretty good job, I think, overall. You use the trigger button to hit the base pads, and then you do a trigger and a trackpad sort of push to slide into the corners, and then a center trackpad push to jump up into the air. And for the most part, it worked fine. I got through the first 2 levels absolutely fine. I did find that the following day I had some really cramp in my thumb. I'd had like RSI from playing Thumper on the go, because like it's a really intense game. Like if you think you're going to relax and play this game, you're wrong, because it's super intense. It'll keep you on edge the whole time. But I must have been like gripping the controller with some sort of vice grip, and my thumb was like really hurting the following day. So although I say, yeah, it works fine with the Go controller, I do want gamepad support. And the developers did say via Twitter that they were going to update it for gamepad support in the future. So that is going to be great. I don't think I'll go back to it until they implement it fully, though. Performance, though, it looks great. It's not as sharp, obviously, as the Rift version, but it looks good enough. I did notice a couple of frame rate dips when there's a lot going on the screen, but other than that, it didn't ruin the overall experience for me. So I would recommend it. But if you're really sort of a hardcore Thumper fan, or you may be new to it but not quite sure about the controller implementation, then wait till the controller support is added, which I can't imagine will be that long. So yeah, that's what I played.
That's got to be necessary. So you got through the first 2 levels, Mike?
Yeah.
I'm asking specifically because that jump is so incredibly critical. And later, in the later stages of Thumper, you get to a sequence where you can't make a single error. There's certain segments where you cannot make a single error. And I'd be really surprised. I want to see the thumbs of the people who beat that game.
Yeah, you got like crooked thumb. But yeah, especially when you press and jump up into the air, you actually have to push the trigger to land it back down again. So that's an extra button push, because normally you just push and hold it on the controller. So it needs a controller, I think, in my opinion, but it's still a great game. So if you're interested, go and check it out.
But the visuals you said were less crisp on the go than the Rift. That's interesting.
It's only the edges. Like the edges are a little bit rougher. It looks great, obviously, but it's like the anti-aliasing hasn't been cranked up.
Right?
It doesn't quite look as smooth as it does on the Rift. Okay. But obviously,
still, like if you were a first-time Thumper.
Oh, you'd never know. You'd never know. It's only because I literally played it on the Rift about an hour before I played it on the go that I know.
Right. And would you, because Thumper is a gorgeous game for those who don't. If you haven't seen it, find a trailer, look at it. It's amazing. Like even playing it on a screen, when you get yourself enveloped in that environment, I mean, it won all kinds of awards for artistic direction. So I'm just wondering, Mike, like, would you still say it looks gorgeous on the go, or would you say that it's jaggy?
No, for sure. It looks gorgeous. It looks gorgeous.
We got Paradise Decay in the chat even saying that he has the impression it looks better because of the increased resolution on the Oculus Go.
So, but it's interesting.
It may be the case, but like it's the same with Nog. Like I don't know if you played Nog like on the Rift and then on the Go, but on the Go, like it was just very jaggy. Like it was
too sharp. Yeah,
it wasn't sharp enough, and that's the same with Thumper. Like the sharpness just isn't there.
But the resolution makes sense because these games are more about the distance as well, while others just play much closer to your face. Nog and also Thumper are ones where you really need to look into the distance to make your
But like Zim said, the game is like really hypnotic to play because like the beetle like feels like it's like this close to your face, and it's going so fast.
On what platforms is it out now? It's out on the Go then on
PlayStation.
PlayStation VR.
Rift, Vive, Steam. It's on Switch. It's even on your smartphone. You can get it on your smartphone now. So
I can get it on the Apple Watch as well. No, I can't.
Okay, so let's move on then with some news this week. Let's talk about Echo Combat, because if you missed the last open beta weekend for Echo Combat, you'll be pleased to hear that Ready at Dawn are running another open beta this weekend. So the open beta started on Thursday, the 6th of September, and will be running up until tomorrow, Sunday, the 9th of September at 1600 hours UTC. So in this beta, you can now party up with friends, which is a new feature. So you can just like party up with the people that you want to play with, which is great, especially for competitive players that have their own team. They've tweaked some balancing with the mines in the game, and they've added 2D spectator mode and also fixed a bunch of bugs as well. So if you like team-based competitive multiplayer, you really should go and check it out. It's free, obviously, right now on Rift. So all you need to do is just download Echo VR from the Oculus Store, and then you can check it out while the beta is open.
Grab a buddy's backpack. Don't forget that move. That's so important. It took me forever in Echo Arena to realize that you could just like literally latch onto a dude and be like, I'm going to ride you. And then they just jettison off.
Like a little monkey riding his mum, like,
So awesome.
But yeah, like, have any of you guys tried it yet, Echo Combat? No, or did you ever get into like Echo Arena in terms of like the competitive side of things?
Echo Arena, yeah. So you know Caleb, right? So
yeah, of course.
Caleb gave myself and a couple of buddies kind of like whole tutorial in how do professionals play this game, because he's really serious with it. And so that's how I learned that trick and a few other tricks in Echo Arena. Obviously, visuals are very similar in the new game, but I'm just one I like to kind of wait for something to be ready. So it's simmering in the pot, and I don't want to kind of spoil it and wait for it to be ready.
Don't you guys think this could have been like within the original game as like another game mode instead of a standalone experience? I mean,
I think the thing that it's free. I think that's the key to why they separated it. Maybe.
Okay.
Was the other one free as well? Echo Arena was free.
Yeah, Echo Arena was free.
Yeah, so I'm definitely seeing what Nathan's saying. It's kind of odd that it's compartmentalized in boxes. Initially, they spun it off to put a price tag on it, and then I think it was Ruben mentioned he's like, "Oh, this is going to be launching for free. We're not going to charge for this." That was like December last year, but
now they've called it Echo VR. So Echo VR is Echo Arena and Echo Combat together. So it's not like they've spun it off into different games as such. You've just got Lone Echo and Echo VR now. You
know what? That's them by brand answering Nathan's concern, which is like, this is a bit confusing. Why have the two different? We don't want to segment the community. That's why they're doing it. Makes total sense now. Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
No worries. So next bit of news. Everyone knows that Spider-Man launched on the PS4 yesterday. The hype and build up about this game has been absolutely huge. Who is Spider-Man? Peter Parker? You never heard of the dude?
Spider-Man. My God. Okay.
So I played a bit of the game yesterday, the Pancake game. I've been enjoying it. You know, enjoying swinging through New York City. Not enjoying swinging, just enjoying swinging New York City. But the devs at Polyarc, you know, the guys that made Moss, they posted like the cutest congratulations message to Insomniac, featuring Quill, the adorable little mouse. You know, it was all dressed up wearing a little Spider-Man outfit saying congrats. It was super cute. And it's just really nice to see these kind of like developers, you know, congratulating each other and the sort of love within the VR community. I feel it's kind of like that really close-knit kind of community. Everyone's really happy and having fun. And obviously Insomniac, you know, they're doing their own thing in the VR space as well. They're developing Stormland right now for the Oculus Rift. So it was just kind of cool, really, that they did something like that. But I'd be intrigued to know, has anyone else been enticed by the Pancake side this weekend to play?
I've seen a lot of people in the chat saying that they've been playing Spider-Man, and also what Took is asking if you also enjoyed the Cobra beer.
I did. They went down a tree. Like, it was my wife. She came home from work and she brought me 2 Cobras and Spider-Man, and I was like, yes. I've got a winner here.
Those ratings of that game are crazy. Like, I saw a list of all the ratings they had so far. My days, that's like mind blowing. That's almost like true perfection in a way. Like, I also played some Pancake stuff. I replayed the first Metro, and I'm also playing the open beta of like Battlefield right now. Because I mean, it's free, so why not?
Do you feel though that now we've had so much experiences in VR that we're kind of broken in a way that we can't enjoy Pancake games in the same way that we used to?
100%. I'll tell you, I'm a Battlefield fan. I've been playing Battlefield 5 as well. By the way, not enough chicks in that game. I mean, I was expecting more. I really wanted there to be more. I think it's all right, but yeah, I find myself 10, 15 minutes in, I'm not in it like I used to be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's not just that specific title. It's pretty much any 2D flat panel game.
For me, it isn't that bad yet. Like, I can still perfectly enjoy a 2D game, but with every game I do play, I do like, I wonder how this would be in VR, you know?
Yeah.
I have that though. With every game I play, I wonder how this would be in VR.
I just like with these Pancake games that just came out and that you can play at this moment, they give you so much more satisfaction than you would get in most VR games, where you are kind of at risk, where it's like, hey, if I play this, will I really get something out of it? But with these Pancake games, like the Spider-Man one, that's so satisfying. Like it's constantly rewarding you, and you're like, I want to play more, and I can't stop, and I need more and more and more.
Yeah, but of course, I mean, the developers that make this kind of game, we don't have that yet in VR with that kind of budget, with that kind of like personnel behind it.
True, but like in general, this whole season hasn't been that great for VR. Even that, yes, we had Firewall, and yes, we had Pixel Ripped, and we had a few more, but compared to the last 2 years, not very impressive. Like the games that were out that were nice, yes, great, but I don't know. Like I can't just say like we need more, because I mean developers work on games for ages, but still.
I think the reason behind that though is, well, my guess anyway, is that a lot of devs are focused on maybe Santa Cruz development right now, and they're involved in that rather than developing for Rift, because that might be the next big thing.
Also, a lot of developers have showed to other developers that sometimes making a game for 6 months isn't paying off. And when you work on a game for maybe 2-3 years, and you really look at what the rest is doing, and you improve and improve, that it has a way better effect than people seem to develop longer and longer because they know it might be more effective in the end.
I actually have more the feeling that the quality of the titles that are coming out actually are being pushed higher. Like I haven't really played any more games than I've been like, these guys have no idea what they're doing. Probably also because I try to filter out those kind of games. But the amount of quality that I've been seeing in titles in the past couple of months, it's actually been pretty good, I think.
Good.
I'm more on par with you, Rowdy, because I would say that shovelware-wise, aside from because that stuff is still hitting Steam, the other platforms, as far as I'm concerned, the stuff I've played over the last year, I'm rather in a position where I wish I had more time personally to be able to ingest this stuff, finish off some of the things that are really quality. I mean, for most of our discussions get into kind of nitpicking rather than this game is inexorably broken. And I think that's a very positive thing. 2 years ago, we'd be having a very different dialogue.
I think so too.
Okay, cool. Well, let's talk about a new game that's coming soon, and that is Transpose. The devs behind Blasters of the Universe, Secret Location, announced their latest VR title this week called Transpose, and I was happy to learn that it's a VR puzzle game. I love VR puzzle games, and it's a dreamlike VR game set in a universe where time and gravity are used as tools to manipulate the world. By creating and working with looped recordings of their actions, players must solve increasingly complex physics puzzles in a mysterious setting where notions of space and time no longer apply. Transpose features real-time player recording, allowing you to play back your actions one-to-one in real time while interacting with your past selves. You must create echoes of yourself, rewind time, and work with these echoes to solve puzzles. So it seems super
That
That
cool
seems
concept.
really cool.
Yeah, that's a cool concept.
Yeah.
It also
like
is
that.
going to be infuriating. God damn, the puzzle design is going to be really nasty.
But you're gonna be angry at yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
You can actually flip yourself off in VR as you're doing the thing. You can make it into a comedy thing.
Yeah, you could. You could.
You know,
And this
somebody's
is
going to make a great video off of that.
this is what blows my mind. It's like the fisherman's tale as well. Like when I actually think about how devs actually put this together, it makes my head hurt. Like it does.
Inception.
Yeah, it's so. But then again, it does look very cool. I really like the concept. I like the fact that they've moved on from like a shooter to something a bit more interesting, like a puzzle game. But if this is as hard as Blasters of the Universe was, oh my god, we're in for a really challenging puzzle game. Because I don't know if you guys played Blasters of the Universe, but it was hard as nails. That game was hard as nails.
What was the name of this one again, Mike?
Transpose.
Transpose. Quite simple
Transpose.
name. The only thing I was going to say, when you were introducing it, my brain went, oh God, not another one. I personally feel, sorry, developers, I personally feel that last year was wave FPSs, right? Wave shooters. This year feels a bit like, oh, what's the next thing? Oh, wave shooters, we can't do those anymore. Let's just do puzzle games. Just puzzle anything. It's fine. It's simple as it's one room. We can push this thing out in a year.
I'm totally happy with that. I'm totally happy with like an abundance of puzzle games.
It's way better than it was. But I wonder what next year's will be.
So someone is asking what the release date will be of this one. Is there any?
All we know that is it's coming in the fall of 2018. It will be on Oculus Rift, Vive, and PSVR as well. So you can enjoy it on all platforms.
There you go,
so that's going to be a really interesting one to keep an eye out on. The next one we're going to be talking about is Carly and the Reaper Man. If you've never heard of this game, it's an asymmetrical multiplayer VR game. What this basically means is that one player is in VR controlling the Reaper Man, the other player is watching the screen and playing with a controller, and you play as Carly. Now, it's a platformer puzzle game where you basically have to work together. So both players have to work together.
You say puzzle again, Mike. Did you say puzzle?
I did.
He said wave-based.
It's becoming like the puzzle podcast.
The puzzle podcast. It's been available on Rift, Vive, and Windows MR since June. However, as much as I like the idea of the game, if like me, you don't have any real friends, or like Rowdy, you just hate people, then you haven't really been able to enjoy this one up until now, because the developers Odd Raven Studios have recently pushed an update which allows the game to be played single player mode. So I think it's kind of a cool move from Odd Raven, although I do feel that maybe online cooperative play would have been a better choice.
But that's the thing they're like going to do. They tested it. And it works. They told me at Gamescom, they said like, listen, we have some kind of new program, a server that can run 2 people at like one place, and then you can play this game instead of local, you can play it online co-op. So, and they say it works completely fine. Yeah, I see an intruder. Hello. Hello, what are you doing?
Yeah. New guest on the show.
First guest of this year of the new podcast. Tell us some more about the dog food you like the most. Huh?
Well, I do think obviously implementing online play is difficult, and they kind of went through this kind of route just to kind of satisfy people in the interim. They do state that playing it single player will make some parts of the game way more easy and other parts of the game way more harder. But if you're interested, you can check out the game. There's a demo right now on Steam, so if you're interested in this kind of asymmetric multiplayer, playing with someone else in the same room as you, then go check it out.
It's weird because in the trailer that I just showed, it says that it was coming June 19th.
Maybe it's because it's in early access right now on Steam. Maybe maybe. But it is available now. The demo is available now as well. Free demo. So let's talk about what's releasing next week. We've only got one really big game to talk about, and that is Windlands 2. So last week we had an announcement from Cytec Games that Windlands 2 will be releasing on Oculus Rift very soon. The original Windlands was a really well-received game due to its swinging mechanic and open world that you can explore. And it was one of the first titles to support the Oculus Touch controllers as well. So it seems like the sequel has taken everything cool about the first game, kind of cranked it up to 11. Now you've got like a more vibrant and detailed Windlands world to explore. You can also do it with friends in online multiplayer and co-op with up to 4 people, which is really cool. And now they've added combat to the game as well. So you also carry a bow with you so you can fight enemies. And you also have these like epic Titan boss battles, which you have to get involved with as well. If you play it with friends, the difficulty of the enemies and the bosses actually scale up. So if you're playing with more people, it will get harder, which is really good. The first game's movement was super intense. I remember going back to it again recently, and I was like, I struggled with it.
It was so awesome, though. I love that.
It was.
I love the intensity of it, because they really like push like the boundary of it, Because I remember I did that I was watching that one series back then in Naruto. Anyone ever watched it? Yeah, Naruto. Oh. And they always run like that, yeah. And that's kind of how I felt while playing that game. Like, it was so cool doing that. I love that. I really love that.
Yeah. So and that's the thing. It was super intense, but it was one of the first games of its kind to really push the boundaries of locomotion. Yeah. And a lot of people developed their VR legs by playing the original game. But since then, you'll be pleased to hear, if you're not really that hot with VR, implemented a ton of features to make it way easier for newcomers in VR. And me and Zim actually played it at EGX Res this year, and we watched a lot of newcomers to VR that was having their first experience playing this game, and they were actually coping surprisingly well. I was really surprised. No one really had a problem. No. So it is coming out soon. It's actually coming out next week. It's going to be releasing on Oculus Home for Oculus Rift on Wednesday, the 12th of September. So if you're interested, keep an eye on that.
You know when you have a real problem? When you play Windlands on a DK1 with Hydra support.
Wow. OG.
Then you have a problem.
Well, this is why you're in the Guinness Book of Records. You've tried it all. Exactly. That's probably why we should talk about next.
Yes. Do you have a Hydra then, Nathan? I didn't know that.
Well, no, I never played with highs. I played with a controller, even worse, like a gamepad. My days.
No,
But
I mean,
yeah,
I'm a huge Windlands fan. Like since the initial demo, the first demo that dropped, which is really just like a sand dune and some puzzles. And the best part, the thing I liked about it, which they really got from the very beginning, was you don't need to over instruct the player. Like just let the player wander. And in the first, well, you basically walk up to this giant door, and it's got some facets on it, and you just inherently know, okay, I've got to probably collect some things and plug them into the door, and you go off wandering. And it wasn't particularly difficult to know where you had to go because there were these pillars of light, right, showing off, go over here. Like I remember the first jungle in not from the demo, but from the first Windlands, in the jungle level, there's those 3 pillars. But when you get up there, and particularly if you're playing standing, my God, like the feeling of vertigo that you get. And I'll suffer from vertigo at heights. That's actually why I joined a mountaineering club and went mountaineering, was try to combat that. But like I definitely felt it there. I mean, to the point where shrieking, moving, almost falling over, all that kind of stuff. Like if you have the balls for it, then definitely play Windlands standing up, because that Naruto feeling, coupled with the motion, is that your vestibular system tells you.
You hear the audio, like the wind, like.
Yeah, the audio is
so
great.
awesome. That's so awesome.
But the one thing I have to say is I do find the 2 trailers they've released so far, out of everything that I've seen, like Windlands 2 is way better than the trailers represent, in my opinion, from playing it. Like I didn't find, in particular, I'm a huge sound guy, the soundtrack didn't gel with the trailers, in my opinion. Now, some people like the very light music, but that stood out to me as like conflicting, and it was kind of disappointing. But we'll see. I mean, I think the actual game is going to do very well.
Let's see how the intensity plays with the people, you know?
Mike, were you going to say something about comfort options there? Because I think they have, I don't know if it's kind of like a light dot system. In the first one, you had various cages and things you could, if you were like one of those people. I'm not, but if you're one of those people. They
have a crap ton of options to play to cater for everyone's needs. But no, they don't do any cages or anything like that. They do some really clever stuff with the movement and the way that you land and the way that the players' movement while they land and all these kind of things. It's super above my head, but they've thought about it a lot. And I have to say it tends to work. Like, you know, from what we've seen firsthand, newcomers seem to find it fine to play. So if you're kind of used to VR games, you wouldn't have to worry so much about like the experience you probably had with the original, like I did, and you'll probably find the second one really comfortable and fun to play. Okay, so let's talk about Nathie. Let's focus on you. Because you can finally share.
It starts to sound like an intervention. Nathie, we need to talk.
It's like I'm not allowed to say anything here, and I just need to listen to what Mike is to say now.
It's gone too far.
So I feel like I'm going to do like an episode of like This Is Your Life.
Yeah.
No, but basically, you've been working behind the scenes on like a big project for some time. Yeah. It's only now that you can really talk about it and share it, right? And that's that you've been featured in the Guinness Book of Records, the Gamers Edition, and you've opened up like the VR section of the book. So maybe you can tell us about how this even started. Like, how did this come about?
Yeah, so a couple of months ago, I received an email from Guinness, and they said, "Hey, Nathie, listen, you have a record on being the largest VR channel." So I was like, "Okay, cool," but I never thought of like Guinness in the way they, you know, put people in their book and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, thanks. So what does this mean? And then they said, like, we want to do a shoot, a photo shoot, and we want to come from Ireland because Guinness is an Irish thing, right? And they wanted to come here to do a photo shoot. And they said, like, yeah, we just come to your VR studio, you know, and maybe we Photoshop you hanging on a rock and things like that. They really wanted to go for a green screen, fake stuff meets Nathie sitting in his chair at his like workspace and doing some photos there. I was like, I don't really feel those ideas. I said, like, let's do something, you know, Ready Player One, because Ready Player One got announced around that time. I was like, maybe we should do something like that. And they said, like, yeah, sure, if you got an idea, fine, just send it to us. So I said, like, listen, I want to get a DeLorean. I want to get a nice spot, like a warehouse to put the DeLorean in. I want a lot of smoke. I want a lot of rubber. I want some epic photos, something not just standard, nothing boring, just something like fresh, So yeah, then a few months later, we met in Amsterdam. We found a warehouse, and we had a DeLorean coming all the way from Belgium to Amsterdam, and it was one of the was like a replica, not of course like a real Back to the Future DeLorean, but it was signed by all the actors from the movie. So we did a couple of shoots. We also did a Tron one where I was wearing the suit. And it was, of course, all about VR. So I was wearing headsets. I was holding a Virtual Boy. Like the photos that came out, there's so much more, but they just didn't use it. But it's just funny how these photos came about. Because I could have gone for the simple photos. I could have said, like, listen, just come to my place, make these photos, done. But instead I wanted to just go for something mind-blowing. And now the photos are out. I can finally talk openly about it because there was an embargo on it. So I couldn't really share much. Of course, with my friends and family, but in general, I couldn't post the photos on my social media. I couldn't do much with it. I could not even tell people that I had a record. I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna keep myself like shut for a while. But yeah, as you said, like I'm opening the VR section. This is the first time in the Guinness book, the Gamers Edition, that there is a VR section. And I think it's the same for the general book as well. There's also a VR section in there that I haven't seen before. So yeah, I could show the photos. I'm not sure if people said my camera is kind of blurry. So maybe instead Rowdy could play the video I made where you see some of the behind the scenes stuff, and you also see me holding the book. And in the meanwhile, I will just grab like the.
Yeah, I played the video edition. And the picture that you posted on Twitter. I've shown that that one as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. So funny enough is that this is the Gamers Edition. But yesterday, one of my subscribers told me that I'm also in the main one. So I bought the main one today, and this is the main one. It looks very shiny compared to the Gamers Edition. It's just like, well, gamers get just a toilet kind of like book, and this is more like the real cover, and this is one you put in the toilet, the Gamers Edition, when you're like sitting nicely and you're reading about some records. But here it is. So this is like the VR page. And then you can see me right over here.
Awesome.
So I am also in the yes. So I'm also in the main book, and that's so nice. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So hopefully this will be a good promotion for VR in general. Let's say the Gamers Edition is really for kids. I mean, it on the front it says like. Intro by Stampy Cat. I'm like, okay, sure. And no offense, but it is a book for kids. So kids will read this, and I think this photo is a really inspiring one, and it's an honor to be the first one to, also open the VR section. It's not really about me being the largest channel because I don't really care. I just like to spread. VR is an exciting new thing, but to kind of trigger Guinness to finally do something with VR because it's relevant enough is a nice milestone.
We got something in chat saying James Davis was saying Tronty instead of Nathy.
Tronty. Yeah. So that's it, and. I don't know. Who knows what kind of records we get next? Because this is still a version where it's more about some facts and not really records. But soon we will have like, hey, I can be the best one in Beat Saber. I can be this and that. So they take it more and more serious. So this really becomes a thing now.
Most people at the same time in a virtual world and stuff like that. That's definitely coming.
Yeah. The one that annoys me is the longest in VR. I think there was that dude in Pink who did it at one stage. It's like it's probably not smart for your health anyway. I mean, a lot of the stuff in Guinness World Records is not good for your health. So, it's just
it's true. You die faster. You die faster of not sleeping than that you die of not eating.
I think the main record right now is 36 hours in VR.
Wow.
But I heard
don't try that. Don't try that.
It's kind of dangerous. It is kind of dangerous. I once considered doing it myself, but I don't think I'm like made for that at all. would be kind of funny to be in the records book and then I have another record. There are like Nathan records everywhere. It's like
we get someone in the chat saying that we get someone in the chat saying that Zim has a record as well, since he has more than 5,000 hours in Skyrim. We are the Fly Guys. Thanks for that comment.
Okay, but yeah, I think it was awesome achievement. I think you should be incredibly proud, and congratulations. You've been there since the very early days of VR. You were there in the very beginning. You've been creating content, showing VR off on YouTube.
Yeah.
I think your passion has really helped share the joy and what it's like to experience virtual reality. And I think you've done a cracking job, and I think you deserve to be featured in Guinness. So congratulations, and we're all incredibly proud of you, dude. So well done.
Thank you.
The one thing I'm just going to tag onto that, Mike, is I'm going to say, as a critical person, I'd say Nathan has been the most consistent content creator that I've seen. The guy doesn't really take a holiday, and I've seen you push, videos since that early time, again and again and again. And you reinvent, you build communities and stuff. So I think there's no one better to fit that slot.
Yeah.
So.
What is holiday? Can someone tell me what that is?
What is holiday?
It's
I thought like
holiday.
Oculus Connect is kind of like a holiday for me. I'm not sure about you guys, but
it's going to be a lot of fun being there together. That's for sure. I'm excited about that.
You should chill at my treehouse.
Not show my face.
I'm not sure if I told anyone, but I'm living in a treehouse when I'm going to Connect.
He's basically going to live the life of a squirrel for a week.
Hobbit Tronti. I'm Hobbit Tronti. I like that name.
Oh, as we transition out of this, Mike, I saved this Guinness question here.
Sure.
How many of you have actually tried proper Guinness? And I'm talking the drink.
Oh God, I hate it.
Oh,
terrible, isn't it?
Yeah, I hate it. I can't stand it.
It's really
pretty
popular
awful
over here, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
If you really want to...
Yeah.
Oh.
Over here, yeah. All the Irish pubs here have it,
I can't remember. Does it block you up, or does it like let everything go? I can't remember.
All I know is that there is an aftermath, Mike. A very notable aftermath.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us more. What is the aftermath?
I wasn't quite sure which way it was.
Try it out and let us know next week.
All right. Yeah. You know how it's called the black stuff?
Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
Okay. Okay. So let's talk about exclusivity in VR, because I was talking with some developers this week and we got onto the subject of funding and platform exclusivity, and I thought it would make a really good topic for the show. So please feel free to join in the chat. We can read out your thoughts as well. But I'd love to know, what do you guys think of like platform exclusivity? Do you think it's a good thing? Do you think it's a bad thing? Are you happy with it, or you'd rather see it die? I'd love to know.
For me, it depends on the kind of exclusivity. Like, if it's like a timed release, then I'm all for it, because it helps developers in developing the game, make more quality content, and it's good for developers in general to do that kind of thing. If it's like exclusivity in the terms of like, we're never gonna bring it to another platform, I'm much more apprehensive of that one, much more. But if it's a timed exclusive, even if that's a little while, then then I'm actually for it. And at this stage, don't like, not when like VR is like mainstream and everyone has virtual reality headsets. That's a different thing. But at this point, when VR is still a niche thing and developers need to get funding and need to get money to develop their kind of games, I think that's actually a good thing.
Yeah. I'm with Rowdy on that one. So a phased. Generally speaking, so like for instance, Thumper, good example, right? Thumper, right? Launched first on PlayStation, had their VR leg there, then was able to spawn over on PC, then was able to spawn over on Go. Like any title that can prove its merit, get its funding, get released, do well, succeed on one platform, and then move and migrate. Great. That's the ideal solution. But something like Resident Evil, which we've seen be in one platform, and then, there's the PC players plus Mike screaming for it to come over. Please terrorize me on PC, please. Then, I honestly still side with, Sony and those companies, because those pressure systems, and that's really what they're building, are a positive, because it's a race in the end of the day. It's a race for wallet share. It's a race for your platform to succeed. And that's actually the fuel in the engine, the catalyst that allows the whole industry to kind of soldier forward. If it was just neutral right across the board and everyone could play everything,
Mhm.
I think you would find it difficult for someone to maintain a competitive advantage.
Yeah.
It depends on how far you want to go with that. Like, as you may know, Sony is kind of not really fan of cross-platform. Doesn't really go well with the main crowd. Let's say single player wise, yeah. I mean, some of them are like an exclusive forever. I mean, if the studio who also makes the headsets is the one that develops it, then yeah, it's their exclusive. They can do with it whatever they want. But if you have just an independent developer, they always aim for timed exclusive, always,
Yeah.
because it's the best way for them to get rolling to the next platform, also make more money. But let's say usually it's or Sony that makes an like an exclusive, or Oculus. I don't know anyone else that is doing it at this moment.
No.
Like, I have always been a big supporter of open VR. I like when I can remember when Revive came out. It was like a next level thing. I'm so happy that it's there, because it kind of opens up the market for the people that are looking for like freedom in terms of what they want to play. But I don't know. Yeah, as Zim said, it's a business model. Like, I bought a Switch because I wanted to play Mario Kart. If I could have played Mario Kart on PC, I would have not bought a Switch.
Yeah.
So, but like in general, sometimes it's not fair. But that makes, for example, the PlayStation VR platform so successful compared to the others, because they have a closed system. And if you want to join it, you got to buy that headset, and then you can,
it also allows them to push the market forward. Because in a way, I see like Oculus has done some timed exclusives in a way as well, or only released it on the Oculus store. But in a way, like the Oculus Rift is so much cheaper as well as the HTC Vive at the moment. So it's actually like it's a balance between the two that I always see.
Because I see a lot of feedback from the community, and sometimes it's fair, but I think a lot of it is kind of a bit misguided, because a lot of these people complain, and I understand why they complain, is because maybe they can't get the best experience when they try a game, for example. But I think the main issue is, and what the feedback I got from the developer I was talking to was that the general thing is, like, it costs a lot of money to make a game, full stop. Like, it costs a lot of money. And to develop a game in VR is such a huge risk right now that you're not guaranteed that you're going to get your money back on the game's development. So especially for bigger studios that can just concentrate on like traditional gaming platforms, they're like, well, why would we take the risk? Why would we bother? And that's why Oculus are funding huge titles like from Insomniac, because it's not like they're short of money. Insomniac can fund their own game development, but they just think, well, why would I take the risk on something like this? Whereas if Oculus are funding the game, when they're like, well, the risk is removed, we just get the freedom to develop something interesting for a new platform. And a lot of people will sort of like hate on the fact that Oculus did this whole, they moved away from the open VR platform, because that was the dream and the vision initially when Palmer was there. But like you say, we have got Revive, which kind of helps bridge the gap a little bit. But the thing is, if these companies like Oculus and PlayStation didn't fund these titles, they just straight up wouldn't exist. And if it's a question of like a timed exclusive or just a complete exclusive or it not existing, well, then we're always going to choose like the first one, right?
So,
we're always going to.
Aside from the logical response here, I think a scenario consideration is warranted for the kind of emotional side. So in other words, right? So like, say you're a 40-year-old vet who blew out their back, and now you're not making very much money, and you got a PSVR, and you're looking at the PC titles, and you're saying, well, I can't play that stuff. That's such a pain in the ass. And fair enough, it is, right? You can't. What if you're, some rich family's 16-year-old who's got all the headsets, and you've got all that kind of, so you don't care, fucking care, you can get it on any platform. But then there's also someone who's kind of more medium. So say you're, stay-at-home mom, couple of platforms, and you got a couple hours a day to kill. You got a family of kids who want to play on different consoles in different rooms. But like from a licensing perspective, if you, again, take Thumper as an example, if I buy it on one platform, I don't get it on another one. Like, licensing is a totally another ballgame, because even if you don't have exclusivity, to like Nathan's point, right? If you have a game like Skyrim, right? How many people have bought Skyrim 6 times because it's launched for VR, it's launched for Switch? Same thing with Doom, So I think there's definitely different modes of thought on
And
this
also,
subject.
we got someone in the
They're
chat
not all
pointing
positive.
something out, which I found a little bit interesting. Was JJ Mark? He said, it's also a difference between designing a game for the Rift, for the Vive, and the PlayStation VR. And that is true because, with the Rift you have the touch controllers, with the Vive you have the Wands controls, with the PlayStation you have the Move controls. There's different systems that are in place that are not. I mean, I'm not saying it's completely different, but it is an extra effort that needs to be put into making sure that everything works on these different platforms. It's not like a PC where pretty much everything is compatible. Each headset has a different kind of operating system, it has a different kind of input control. So these are things that also need to be integrated there. So that's also an extra cost, of course.
That's true. I think that on PC it's a little different. I don't really care if there's an exclusive on the PlayStation when I'm on PC because the step is too far away. But if you own a Rift or a Vive, it's so close that you're like, why are you doing this? Well, let's say if you are a pancake gamer, you play, let's say, Overwatch on Battle.net. Okay, that's it. But in the end, I can have a Samsung monitor, I can play it. Someone has an Asus one, fine. But in VR, it's like I have a Vive, and yes, you have different controllers. But in the end, the headset itself is still the same thing. And yeah, as you said, the controllers need to be different. But the thing is, if you are an independent developer, you want to create for a few platforms. That's how it is. But as long as you are an Oculus or a PlayStation and you do in-house development, why the heck would you make it for your competition? Would make no sense at all.
In a way, I do think that the Revive, even though it's not an official tool, it did solve a lot of that because it took away the responsibility from the developer to make sure that the game is compatible with the platform that they're supporting. If they're saying we're not supporting this platform, but it might work with Revive, that's a completely different thing that they actually release it on the Steam store and then say, oh yeah, it's compatible with Vive. But then people try it and it's like, oh yeah, but the controls are not working. And you got bad reviews because of that. They get bad input because of that. Well, with Revive, they can kind of circumvent that kind of system and then just release it on the Oculus store or release it for Oculus only.
I think a title that did it really well was Moss, because that was initially a PlayStation timed exclusive, and we never even knew that it was coming to other platforms. We just thought it was going to be a PS exclusive forever. Yeah. And then when it did finally come to the Rift, I was so happy, that game got more exposure out there, more people got to try their game. And I think the best thing about a timed exclusive like that is that they probably do get a little bit of funding to have it timed, but also they can learn from this as well. And it's all about experience because VR is so small and so new that it really needs that experience from developers to try things and fail and implement them and reiterate. But the good thing that comes out of it is if they do get the experience, especially even if it is just a completely exclusive to one platform, hopefully that studio can make enough money from that single platform to fund their next game development that they can then go and break free and publish it themselves, and then they can publish it on whatever platforms they want. So although I understand the criticism about exclusivity, I understand why it's needed, especially in such a small industry right now. But it's just a case of these games necessarily wouldn't exist if it wasn't.
You are right. It's not like developers always think hey, let's grab the money and work with an Oculus or a PlayStation to make a game. They usually use that to start their business up. And then from there, everyone wants to be independent. Trust me, most developers want to make their own game and they don't want to be attached to another headset because it also shows that they can't be independent. And they really want to. So by showing off that, first of all, they can make a great game, then they prove themselves within the market. And from there, they can find other investors because you kind of need to get the word out somehow. And if you can just get a nice amount of money to make your first game, I think that's a good start of things.
Kind of funny, we all agree.
Yeah.
But honestly, I'm so happy that Revive exists because I feel like it keeps the balance between this whole thing. Because in the end, we can't say that there is no way you can play on other platforms. Of course, you can't play with your Vive. You can't play PlayStation games with your Vive and the other way around. But in the end, there is Revive. So it feels like it's not
completely closed. You can't play Spider-Man on PC either.
That is true. Yeah, that is true.
But one thing as well, like something that we found today, I think it was posted on one of the Reddits, was someone that was showing the Pimax that was actually able to play Oculus games natively, like with through their tool. You don't have to use Revive, you don't have to use Steam.
Wow.
You just basically fire up Oculus and your Pimax is going to work with that game. And like, that's pretty incredible that they've managed to do that. So that's going to be really interesting when the Pimax starts shipping to people, how that implementation works. Well, again, is it something the thing is, when they actively blocked Revive in the early days, they had so much community backlash on it that they had to go back on their word. So I can't see them blocking it. I can't see them being happy with it. But I think I remember having this conversation with Jason Rubin myself in London, saying that people were using other platforms to play their content. He said, as long as they're playing the content and they're paying for it, then he's not so upset. Obviously, of course, he'd prefer it if you use the Vive, but he understands, the situation.
Rift.
Yeah. The Rift. Yeah, he understands.
It's also funny that because we were at the same event in London, and I've been asking him back then. I said, like, did you actively update against Revive? He told me that they weren't doing that.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm not sure if I believe that, because I had a few moments where I booted up Revive, it did not work, and then a few days later it did work because the guy updated it. I'm not sure if that's true. But I do feel like they're not try-harding on it anymore like they did at the start when, it was
I don't think that they make so much profit on the Rift, like, can't be.
The interesting thing is,
to the price,
I don't know, if you, like, let's say Superhot, for example, a lot of people bought that on the Oculus store because it worked fine with a Vive. Of course, I don't think it's a big number, but if something is a long-timed exclusive, that sometimes pulls people over, especially if it's a good game, because people need to play it at that very moment.
There's a really good comment here in chat I'll just mention, because I think it ties back to something we talked about last week. And Classic Seaview said, TV adoption in the early days was extremely bad until Saturday morning kid cartoons. And that's the reason why TV had mass adoption. We talked last time about, again, the whole kind of market of kids and things like that, and with VR, and obviously the rules right now setting against. But actually, as a father, again, I can say that, in terms of adoption for VR, that's a huge segment that's still missing. Like, right now, what do you do with young kids and stuff? It's probably like Google Cardboard or something like that. That would be the kind of target market at the moment.
No, you're right. There should be more kids apps. The last time I played like a good one was Alone Together. I was like, hey, finally a family-friendly title. Super cool.
Google Stories.
Google Stories.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
And I played like the one in like a kid room, and I have to look up the name. I kind of forgot about it. Where you were like in like a kid's room, a playroom, and you could play with like the blocks. It was from some Russian developers.
You need to read a story.
Yeah,
and things.
read a story. That was really well done. Really.
But it all comes
like
back
Wash
to
the Bear or something, was it?
Huh?
No. That's like, that's also Russian. That's I've seen that before. Yeah. I don't know how I ever saw that, but I know that stuff. No, but the thing is, going back to the point where there are rules, as we discovered last time, it was like 12, 13, like the age kind of like limit on like a headset. So even developing for,
it doesn't really make much sense right now. But that's
also,
the thing.
Like, would you let your kid, like, if? I mean, I know some people that are far more protective over this kind of stuff than I am. So I can imagine that some people just would not want their kid to be trying something out with the device.
Very small group. Even the kids that do play, it's a very small group, I'm sure. Like if I look at my own demographics of my channel, like those people are like between 18 and like 40, 45. Like kids don't own headsets.
But they're all in Rec Room, all of them.
Well, it always looked like a very
chat,
big group, but I don't know. And you need to know those kids that you usually see in Rec Room are maybe 13, 14. You can buy a mixed reality headset. If you just wait, like, let's say a few Christmas Eves, then I'm sure your parents want to give you, let's say if you're a smart kid, like I did the same thing. If something was expensive, I wasn't asking for other stuff for months. And I was just waiting for that moment with Christmas. Like, yeah, I just want that thing. I know it's expensive, but listen, I didn't ask for the Lego and I didn't ask for this. I just want one thing this year, okay? So I think as a kid, you could get away with maybe a mixed reality headset, maybe an Oculus Rift if you got rich parents, or a Vive, or maybe even a Pimax, or maybe even a Star VR if you're very, very rich. But who knows? That's my tip to the kids out there. If you're watching,
my dad is rich.
out there, that's the way you do it.
My dad is Elon Musk. I'm going straight into the metaverse.
Yeah, please, Elon, if you're watching, please adopt me, okay?
So we've gone on for a bit. We've kind of overstretched a little bit. So I think what we'll do is we'll wrap this one up with some questions, and we'll talk about Nostos maybe next week. Yeah. So if you've got any questions in the chat, ask them now. But
I got my mom asking me to wave at the camera. So
we'll all wave.
Yeah,
Mom.
We'll
hey,
all
Rowdy's
wave.
mom.
Hey, Rowdy mom.
I could have.
Go on, Nathan.
I could have played like the Belgium team song as well for her, but I don't have it ready at the moment, so I'm sorry.
Unprepared.
Yeah.
There's a question on Twitch from earlier. So JD Max said, "Did anyone try the Wolf 3D retro port?" I think one or two did.
Wolfenstein.
Yeah, the Wolfenstein one.
Oh, the Wolfenstein one. Yeah, I tried that this week actually. It works super well. It's free, so like you can't really complain. You can choose whatever level you want to play. So I play like the first couple of levels and then the final level. It's hard because these games were so freaking hard back in the day. You forget how hard they are because so many games hold your hand nowadays, so you kind of forget. But it was a lot of fun. But I would say that some people that I've recommended to go and try it out and then have since tried it out said that they were very triggered with kind of motion sickness because it's very intense. The speed, and also because the low ceilings.
You don't see the ceiling. There is a ceiling, but you can't really see it.
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's very trippy.
So yeah, and plus because all the environments look exactly the same, it's very easy to get lost and kind of disorientated. So it is intense. So just be aware of that. But yeah, go and check it out for free. You know, if you're kind of a VR vet, then I'd recommend it.
There's one cool Easter egg in this demo. You can pet the dogs. So if they come towards you and you pet them, they stop attacking you. So that's how you can get around them. Yeah, it was like in the options, like pet a dog thing on. I was like, yeah, sure, let's turn it on.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can do that.
Real attack dogs. Warning.
Yeah.
Well, what I didn't know is that I watched Mike's video. Apparently, there are like secret rooms that you can activate. I'm not gonna tell how, but if you just look around, is that also something that was in the original?
Yeah, it was in the original. Yeah, it was.
I didn't play enough of the original. But the last level is not like you're playing against Hitler or not, or was that?
It's Hans.
Robo Hitler, isn't it?
Robo Hitler, right?
It's not actually Hitler. It's like some other dude called Hans.
Hans? Oh, Hans.
You maybe played the German version.
Hans.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Was there blood in your version, Mike?
Oh yeah, there was. Yeah, there was. It was like dripping from the ceiling, dude. It was kind of cool.
I played the original. It was good. There's loads of questions coming in. We got like 4 different questions.
Okay.
Nice. Go for it.
What are the 4 of you looking forward to most at OC5?
Meeting each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being there together.
Yeah.
Is going to be the best thing about that.
No, screw that. Santa Cruz.
And karaoke.
On seeing the height of these other lads. That's what I'm curious about because I just can't. I can't imagine
like
I'm tiny. I am tiny.
Mike is like really tiny, dude.
Yeah.
Like he's a hobbit.
I'm a pretty big guy.
I think I don't know. Like if I stand next to Mike, I look like a freaking tall giant. But I think Zim is really tall too.
I think Zim is.
I don't know. Rowdy and I.
We're the same. We're roughly the same. I'm like what 176, 1m76.
Yeah, 170. Yeah.
I'm actually standing up on my desk right now.
Like Mike is so tiny that even like if he goes into the Oculus sensor setup, they say like it doesn't work. It's like,
let's talk like the last 10 minutes just about how tiny Mike is. Like
no, but to answer that question, really, like the amazing visuals that they had represented last year on this multi-panel display. Like you're not in VR, but feck it, they had awesome 3D graphics at the intro last year in the auditorium for the main unveiling. And I'm expecting a new headset to be announced.
Santa Cruz. I want to see that stuff.
I'm not talking Santa Cruz. I think they're going to announce something else.
I agree, actually. I think they're going to talk more. Like a bit like last year where Santa Cruz was behind closed doors for some people. I think this year they'll have a headset that's behind closed doors as well, which will likely be the Half Dome headset with the varifocal display.
Lenses.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
very
okay. Then
very
I choose that. That is what I want.
Yeah. But who knows if we'll be able to try it out.
I look forward to the food.
Yeah.
I look forward to his treehouse.
Yeah.
Question:
Yeah.
You guys ever reach 90% usage on your graphics cards while in
All
VR?
the time.
All the time, same. I'm streaming and encoding, so
I'm sure. Yeah.
Mainly because of recording, though. Like, if it wasn't for the fact that we were recording or streaming, unlikely. But I
mean, I run a 980 Ti, so I'm not running like the top end. So even then, in certain games, I definitely still need to turn async on, even though when I'm recording on a separate PC. So
it has to record. It has to run full steam.
Otherwise,
you can't run VR. I mean, that's those are the facts.
And not to say most VR games are not really optimized for.
Question 3. If each of you could choose one non-VR title that you'd love in VR, what would it be? I think we've had
Assassin's
that
Creed.
The Division.
BioShock.
That
was fast.
God, you guys were quick. I'm like thinking about this.
Because we get these questions so many times.
Yeah, we do.
I think that's why.
I want Quake 3 Arena or something like that in VR. Fast and bloody.
You can play Quake on Go. There's a port of Quake for Go. Originally.
But isn't that like Quake 1? That's I'm talking competitive multiplayer.
Quake, Classic View says Brother in Arms. Well, that's not a bad one, my friend. That's pretty decent. Co-op Brothers in Arms in VR. My days, please. Preach it. Paradise DK. Spider-Man. JJ Mark says Mirror's Edge. Ooh, that's like meets Windlands. I think that's pretty intense, but I think that could be cool. Dark Souls. I'm hiding straight away here. 86, the Mad Hatter says Portal 2 in VR.
Ooh,
there is a Portal demo, by the way, but that's nothing compared to like actual Portal in VR. I played that with Farpacks. Cannot recommend. It's too much. Conrad Lawrence says TIE Fighter, like a TIE Fighter simulator.
That would be cool. Yeah.
Cool. Like we need more Star Wars in VR. Okay,
sure.
The best one is still coming.
Shower with your dad simulator in VR.
I got that game sent to me. Remember?
Yeah. Did you want it on your channel?
I do not want touch controls in Shower Your Dad Sim. Thank you.
You don't? How are you going to play it then?
So any other questions?
Any other questions? No, I don't think so. Does somebody else see something here?
The only thing I saw was someone said original Doom in VR.
Original
I guess
Doom
that was
in
a
VR.
question comparing.
There is a port of that also available for Oculus Go, but it takes a bit of work. Yeah.
Bill Gates approves.
Cool. Okay, well, it's been a great show. I'll just quickly wrap up and remind you that it's a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show.
Buy the book. By the way. Buy the book. I'm in there, and shout out to me in the book. Just buy it. Okay, no, it's just a joke.
Yeah, Nathan gets commission on every book that's sold. So we live stream obviously every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You tune into the show live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, 12 midday in Central US. Check out the audio version available on Google Play Music, iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Anchor. And that's it for this week's show. I hope you guys and girls have enjoyed it. Sorry we dragged on a little bit and had to drop our last topic about Nostos, but next week's show. I hope you guys and girls have a good week in the metaverse. And until the next week, goodbye for now.
Boom. Bye.